You often hear me say that when we were exiled from nature, we were exiled from ourselves. When we return to nature, we will return back to ourselves. This week, I share a little story time with you. A piece I wrote a few years ago about some of my experiences while in initiation. After having been sick for so long and failing to find the answer to make me healthy in Western medicine, I was surprised and quite honestly deeply awed at the power of nature to heal, deeply transform, and renew you. My feet ached for liberation. Whoever is delighted in solitude is either a wild beast or a god. The skins at my feet are at their threshold. An ice clings inside it, stretching itself along the tenderness of the flesh, gently tearing me. It is -3 degrees outside. The air is spitting, frozen. Each morning I awaken to the ritual of speaking to the plants, inviting the first teachers inside of my body to touch the places that went hard from being sore too long. In prayer, I release them back into the ground in a cathartic thanksgiving. I exit the hut. My eyes scratch at the darkness. The moon is new and the black is heavy. A numbing moves over the casing of my soles, and I'm lifted on a cold swell. It's 4 a.m. I collect the long broken branches, the severed tree stumps, and the twigs hiding in between to make a fire. They were slaying the trees not too far from here. Dada had arranged for a truck to collect them. Their tears were not yet dry, but we welcomed them and they were reborn. I move my feet quickly in the darkness, arranging the thicket, imploring to my feet mercy. I can't ever get used to contorting feet against the emotionless frost. The match breaks the skies, breathing as a flame falls on the newspapers, spreading itself to touch the timber. I beckon the sparks to life and my feet sing and feel wet as they thaw from my ankles. I watch them as they transform and deflate there in front of me. For weeks now, I've witnessed a thick hide forming beneath as each day dies and is reborn into the next. The flames as warmth plays across my face, and I imagine them tracing ancient shadows in the lines along my frown. My face a cave, I see whispers floating. The stars above listen and peer back at themselves inside the liquid. In this moment, I feel held. I wait. In slow sways, the water begins to move, calmly dancing with the roots and herbs inside. The black steel pot vibrates from the flames that lick at its casing. I collect myself and my half-filled bucket of water and prepare to commune with the medicine, my feet moaning at the inevitable. I tip the pot over and spill the faintly ochre blend into the cold contents of the bucket. We had collected the rainwaters from the stream a few days before. I turn away from the fire for another march on the ice as I head for a secret place on the ground. I kneel, and the middle of my feet feel like they're slitting from bending of frozen muscle. I meditate as I open myself up to grace. I take in as much of the water as I can and release the energies and guile that had held onto my innards back into the earth. A lightness seeps into my being, and my spirit rises from beneath caked memories. With time dissolving, an intense hold of consciousness sends me into a trance. I smile. A faint streak of rust paints itself in the distant horizon towards the east, and the earth is humming with me. More birds sound to touch the stillness, letting the approaching warmness play between their wings. And my feet, my precious, precious feet, exhale. The above extract describes my morning ritual while living with uKobela Wam, my spiritual teacher, Kutsolo, a rural town in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. I didn't wear shoes for nearly a year and a half. During that period, my feet made me understand something very essential about my body and the self, about the world, nature, about my many selves within this world, and about the secret dimensions within it. Indigenous peoples across Southern Africa and the world still embrace the practice of being grounded by and connected to the earth in this way. There are reasons why we were barefooted. Bare feet connect you to a higher self. Our ancestors understood deeply the sacred science of restoring and fostering the form. The feet reflect the entire body. On the big toe, you'll find spots that connect to your brain, your pineal, third eye, and pituitary glands, and the span of the entire foot is connected to organs within the body. What Eastern medicine calls reflexology is what African indigenous knowledge systems have known and practiced all along. Over a few months of winter, near the icy verge of the Lesotho border, I watched as my feet would expand and contract with each morning. Ice, fire, cold frost, morning sun. I witnessed a layer etched itself to my skin as the body responded to this new lifestyle adjustment. My hands did the same thing, and a thick film separated the outer layer to the deep lines of my hands, their color taking on a translucent gray. These hands took on new forms as my temperature thresholds augmented both ways. I was awed by the deep wisdom, discernment of the body. As my training veered past the gates of the homestead into the surrounding towns and mountain terrain, The softer city girl's feet were buried, revealing to me the house. My feet acclimatized to the searing of hot tar, and something else happened as I scrutinized my spiritual preparation. The ego waned as I began to wear my practice with honor and embrace the oddity of my appearance. I wore all white with a crown of feathers of a chicken that hid my face. I was standing out from everyone around me, and I allowed this discomfort to settle as peace inside my skins. The stares from onlookers became invisible, their voices muted, my internal dialogue shifted, and with my personal volume rising, verve led me inside the abyss within myself. As I leaned into the learnings, the deeper I was called inside. In 2016, I was ill and almost lost my life. After prolonged physical and mental illness, what the Western world deems unstable but what indigenous peoples see as an awakening of spiritual gift, I finally surrendered to my path of being trained as Isangoma, a traditional healer, and began a journey that would become a series of initiations. I opened to understand that we all have a calling and that life is the initiation. It's around 9 p.m. My feet are feeling around in the dark for themselves and for the answers to the questions that called me here. The Eastern Cape. We're in Lusikisiki. Tata and I are attending in Tlombe at the very bottom of the mountain face within the stomach of the valley. Inside it, a homestead stands, lithe. Edging down the sharp mountain is the only way of getting there, unless you prefer the quicker route, with only vertical mounds and no forest or level ground to break it. That route is only for a few. Yeah, when you're like a man, can't you see yourself? Tata's words trace my ears as I begin to hear the earth through my bases. With these words, I begin to appreciate the situation from an eagle's perspective. The two of us have just moved ourselves through forest and rows of tea shrubs and approached the place at Magua Falls where the land both ways edges off into a shrill precipice. We are pursuing that drop. The moon is still an infant, the darkness is certain, and here we are, one with this moment. Unafraid, I begin to understand that the presence within myself and within this task given my body in this moment is the only thing that's real. My probing this process numbs out the chatter on the outside and awakens the clarity of the unknown. I fold into my haunches and feel the earth with my hands. My fingers rub themselves between the leaves and a moss-covered branch asks to come with me. I rise. I fill my lungs with air to breathe in the silence, and I hear the spirit of things. We stop and perch ourselves on the large rocks to be one with the quiet and the milk stout beers Tata loves so much. There's an insistence that we drink, and my spirit guides aren't being quiet about their disdain. For weeks now, they've intensified the banging against the walls of my head. I try to convince myself there's no link. I tell them, shh. My paternal grandmother loved her milk stout and would nip at it every morning. I'd wished I'd really known her, and her me. I acknowledge the loss and place my sadness on the ground. My heart shakes as I stretch my neck, tilting my head back at the sky. My feet are itching. and the black above me paints itself with bodies trance-dancing and stomping. My heart stops for a moment as I think about Intlombe, and that at this traditional ceremony tonight, I will for the first time dance the diviner's dance in a room full of strangers. A place inside me smiles. Data rises and nods. An elder once wrote that human beings are gods hidden from themselves. My muscles twitch at a place inside my calf. My feet feel for the ground once more and begin to carry me. Unknowingly, I'm sensing for parts of myself inside the layers of this earth. My feet become my hands, and with them I began to see past the dominant paradigms and towards dimensions hidden. I am beginning to remember, allowing nature to speak to me. From beneath the earth, the medicine flowed into my bones, up through the marrow into my crown, to reach for the skies, to cleanse and revive all my dead parts, the sedated gifts and imagination. I was being peeled back, and I diligently shed all versions of who I thought I was. Who I thought was Rui was dying. Death, the first step to salvation. The words came back to me. Nature became art, and I saw visions of my many selves strewn in relinquished yesteryears and impending futures. I was awakening. I was remembering. I wanted to reflect myself back to all that is. I needed the energy to flow out of me and hush everything and everyone. My helping spirits, the ancient ones, and the dear ancestors awoke within me, clearing my heart, beckoning my spirit back. I was decolonizing the mind through acknowledging the spiritual mother and child, our beloved Mother Earth. Beneath my feet, a map revealed itself. A future in this realm awaited me. I became invisible. With these feet, I learned to dance the sacrosanct dance of the ancients and learned that dance is conversation. We dance for our gods. We dance to welcome the ancestors. We dance so that they can hear us and know where we are. We dance so that they can awaken in our hearts an encounter of other and self. As each foot banged on the earth with each rising, the vibrations shuddered through my chakras to balance out my nervous system, clearing the channels to the astral plane. Ukugida in isiZulu and ukuxhensa in isiXhosa is the diviner's dance, moving the body in waves, snaking between the invisible world and the land of the living. I learned to become the dance so completely that I could become the fire today, and at other times I could be the wind and spin myself to touch eternity. Fire makes way for new elements. It renews. The fire, drum, dance, song becomes the catalyst. I surrendered wholeheartedly so that a kind of death occurred, and only dance remained. In those moments, a pure presence suspends the illusion of the three-dimensional becoming one with greater consciousness. The seeds within oneself are germinated, and you learn that life serves life. I became the earth, and I began to carry it with me wherever I went. I was experiencing my body as the universe itself. As I studied my own evolution, I learned to listen with my flesh because the messages come in through our pores. I spent time in the forest and made brush strokes with my breath. Poetry poured out of me, extending my understanding that everything is connected. My contemporary walls flayed, and my path course-corrected. My healing gifts arose and art spilled over from my third eye. Land is not just an economical contraption for Abantu, Africans. It is our spiritual home entrusted to us. We honor and protect the spirits of the land, the spirits, all sentient beings, water, fire, air, nature, animals, and people. Abantu are the people of the sacred continent. A-ba-ntu. Ba, the soul and the charm that makes each of us unique. Ntu, the spiritual life force, part of you. Our spirituality is divinely ordained in cellular memory. If the Ntu, the spiritual, is not balanced, no amount of money and supposed success matters. Our being here is an unceasing collaboration with nature and spirit. After years of corporate work and a null existence that tried to make sense of itself based on an external experience of the world, my Ntu stirred. As I remembered and lived the ways of my ancestors, my soul came and sat beside me. It held me. I was resurrected into what the Western awareness calls artist and healer. As I learned to hold myself as conduit, I've begun bringing back to the body and art something beyond the five sense reality into the sacred and invisible. I was shown where to place the words and images that I would invoke on, and with my body, the ancient ways of our foremothers, the ways we were made to shun, and to place them where those who'd forgotten how to see would see them. What is often considered performance art is the place where the old ones choose to lift the amnesia. It was said to me, we will no longer hide. Ngoma means song. In many Bantu cultures on the continent, it literally translates to drum. Isangoma means to come with a song. Traditional healers preside over the land. They are the protectors, bestowals, and anchors of knowledge, working to remain in tune with the God spirit within all things. In the spirit of Elder Credo Mutwa's words, to be the praise of the faded and fallen, the praise song of those who no longer know who they are, and the silent voices in the breasts of our mothers. It is to be at peace with yourself, to serve all of life sincerely, striving for all to survive. Ubungoma is an ancient sacred science. In Africa, the forests are considered the ancestral realm and the home of the spirits of those yet to be born and awaiting their incarnation on earth. The continent is losing its forests. What happens to the spirits in this case? We become the forests, and our work becomes the air and the leaves, our hearts the soil. And we become the truth that God isn't outside of us, but a knowing that beats within. We become the homes and carriers of the spirits. To reach ultimate freedom and peace, you have to understand cosmic energy and self-knowledge. African art has always been concerned with the hidden words of spirit. The charge of the artist being to appease the realm of the white bones, of the rivers and seas, the chi of the plants and beings, of the stars, the sun, the moon, and the earth. The art space becomes the necropolis, assembling a home for the spirits. Our work moves within the same crevices, moving inside the things that cherishes our collective chi. It explores the traumas, familial and societal, of the country, continent, and indigenous groups of this earth. Through creating multi-sensory endemic art expressions, we dismantle the existing paradigm and reassembled our vast interior worlds, realigning it with unified energy consciousness. Through decolonizing childhood fairy tales, we use them as the framework to build and narrate the story of what happened to us. As a process of recalling and easing an amnesia inherited through the centuries by various systematic violences. We are living in enchanted time. With our spirits right, we can enchant the future. With our love's might, we can give a truer meaning to our past. Benokri. Elder Chinua Achebe once wrote that suffering should be creative, should give birth to something good and lovely. We cannot move forward without examining the past. Though painful, I had a union with my own divinity and witnessed who I was capable of becoming. Through the passages of my personal histories and lineage, I began to see the God in all things. To my surprise, my feet became my biggest teacher and helped me shed all versions of the made-up self. The physical act of service facilitated my own evolution and transcendence. I have accepted my task at the vanguards with the frontiers people. I'm surrendered as I and the elders that allow me, the Great Spirit, write an alternative history that reimagines the past and future, entombing it in the now. My feet have led me to my heart, and inside that word heart is the word art, and my art wants to lead you back to your own, back towards the memories of Spirit's language. I'm deeply grateful for these feet. They have taken me to so many places, in grace and unconditional love. I am so thankful, though, that my feet led me to myself. There's a beautiful Irish phrase that says, "You are the place where I stand on the day when my feet are sore." You are. You are who you've been looking for. I wanted to share this story with you today because humanity is standing at a very painful, very loud, and very ill place. And though we can often view nature as this background for a postcard, this place we visit between our responsibility, between what's important, like things like work or nature, is a fundamental aspect of our human nature and our nervous system. When everything is falling apart, all you have to do is simply go into nature to regather the parts that you don't even know have been lost, the ones you cannot name, the ones only your tears can make sense of. In some indigenous practices, when an individual comes from the hospital, let's say a child has been unwell and has been unable to be assisted by the doctors, the child returns back home and is then made a whole in the ground, in the earth, for the child to enter into. The child is then immersed with some sand, some of the earth, and is left there for a couple of hours and sometimes days. And we may say miraculously, but by nature, the child will begin to heal and to restore themselves again. The same way that if you're ill and you stop eating and you fast and you drink water, the intelligence of the body will begin to renew itself again. When we were exiled from nature, we were exiled from ourselves. When we return back to nature, we will return back to ourselves. We will align ourselves with healed femininity, with all the organic frequency of the mother, and decondition ourselves from the toxic masculinity that has been this world, this system, this machine. Whether you're a man or woman, the masculine aspect of us needs to be renewed. It needs to be given an initiation and a radical transformation by the divine feminine that is the Divine Mother, that is the earth. Put your phone down. Take your shoes and your socks off. Go outside. Walk on the earth. Touch her. Lay down. Close your eyes. Listen. Feel. And let yourself come back to life. Let yourself be reconfigured to what will heal this world. Let yourself be lifted by the electromagnetic magic of our mother. It's time. It's time. It's time. Humanity needs each and every one of us to be well. When we're well inside, we will get well on the outside. It's time. It's time. It's time. Amako. Ashe. Inshallah. Haush. Aho. Takhalang. Lisedi.